Here we are back with Pam at Purple Frog, and I want to ask a few additional questions, Pam, if that'd be okay.
Okay.
Talk to me about farmhands, where it came from, what the idea was, how long it's been around, and what your goal is.
Okay. In 2002, there was a group of us who participated in a program called Taproots. And Taproots was sponsored by Kellogg Foundation and a couple other foundations. And it happened all over the country, and it was really great. It was these trainers that help people get projects done. And it was a week-long retreat. We came with the project of mapping the farms in the Flathead as our project. There was a group of 4 of us, and we spent the week working on it. And there were, I think, about 10 groups, and each group had their own little project. And they would work on their project in the morning with a set of directives given by the staff people, and then in the afternoon we would come together and talk about the work that we had done in the morning for each of the groups, and then all the groups would evaluate and help move it along. So that happened in the fall of, I think it was 2002, and we had a map on the street the next spring. So that process of spending that week together, that retreat, really helped us solidify, get an action plan, and come together and have our first map on the street that next, within 6 months.
And I've seen maps continually, so are they like updated on an annual basis pretty much?
It's been mostly biannual. We did it every year in the beginning, and then, we're just a group of volunteers, and we decided we didn't really need to do it every year, and now we're doing it biannually. Okay,
and Farmhands as a group is putting together a website for that to be interactive and show where the farms are. Is that correct then?
Right.
And will that be, what's the time frame on something like that coming to online?
I would say by the beginning of the year, we have seen the mock-ups, and they look really good, and there's people who are working on it pretty regularly.
Great.
Right
so
now.
We'll look forward to that in the future and everything. So a couple of other questions for you too, Pam. When we were walking around here, you mentioned that you have some interns that are working with you. And I know that there's a kind of a slang term for itinerant younger farmers that want to basically participate with more mature growers. So could you tell us a little bit about how that works? And
well, there's a formal setup. There's WWOOFY, which is Willing Workers on Organic Farms. You join the group, and then you get a map of all the farms that are accepting that. That accept, visitors or people who want to learn about it. We have people that come for the whole summer. I think the WWOOFY idea is a really great idea, but it takes a lot of energy to get someone up to speed with how you do things, and we just are gone so full speed in the summer that we don't really have time to train people, regularly. So, and people just find us. We've lived with over 65 people since we started the farm. Some of them in the early years were just roommates. We were young, and we needed some help with our mortgage. But then I would say at least 2/3 of them have been people who have been participating as farmhands.
Okay, great. And tell us about a little bit about. You're pretty established at your facility right now and pretty mature as a farmer, but how about the younger kids that we were just talking about, or other people that might have farming as an interest in this area? What kind of things do they look at, and what kind of things should they look at for the future?
Well, I think we're going to have to be kind of creative. Mike and I were very fortunate that we moved to this piece of property in 1991, and the property was a lot less expensive. I think for a similar piece of property now, you would be between $200,000 and $300,000, and at $2 or $3 a bunch, that's a lot of kale. So, yep. Getting the equity and the capital to be a first-generation farmer is, I see, what the biggest obstacle is. I think that as a society, we're going to come up with some really creative ways to address this situation. I think the young farmers are going to start maybe demanding is too hard of a word, but supporting access to lands. We have a lot of state lands around here, and when you go down to like that Home Depot, Lowe's parking lot, that was all state land, and when that lease was first freed up, they were going to build an Astrodome, which was a community center where concerts could be held, and they told this great story, and it was really just to get the variance, the zoning variance, so that mall could eventually go in. But that's state land, and what if we freed up some of our state lands that are owned by DNRC and leased them to beginning farmers? That might be one way to address the shortage of land. And then as you drive around the Flathead Valley, we have a lot of people who have moved here to live their Montana ideal, and they have a 10 or a 20 acre field of knapweed, and they don't know what to do with it. They didn't really know what they were getting into, and when they signed up, they had this idea of what it was all about, but 20 acres of knapweed is really not very beautiful. And so I think that we'll have people, landholders, who will be looking for people to help clean up the mess of their yard. And that might be an idea of where some beginning farmers could do it. I also think farm to school is a great way. We're going to have schools that are looking to help cultivate and support the beginning farmer movements.
The college, the local college here, has started an agriculture type program too, and it appears that they might be sort of a conduit too to help the younger farmers get started and everything.
Yes, and Farm Hands is a two-pronged nonprofit. We do the farm map, but then we also are an umbrella organization, or Nourish the Flathead is a nonprofit arm of Farm Hands, and we've done the community garden at the college and have been working with the college to help figure out this question of lands. And one of the programs that we're working on is Land Link. It's happening around the country, and it's where you take retiring farmers that have had enough of it, or that are ready to move on to retirement, and then they would maybe lease the beginning farmer the land less expensively or things like that. And that's going to be part of the new Farm Hands interactive webpage, is people that are interested in transferring their land, keeping it in agriculture. And there's a lot of details to be worked out in that. People can't just walk away from there.
So it sounds like people can, if they're interested in this particular aspect, they could get in touch with somebody at the college over there, or they could contact through Farm Hands and then get directed to the right group and stuff,
right,
to
exactly.
help build that part of the community and everything.
Right.
So,
yep.
Okay, what do you see, Pam, as the future of farming, as far as right now in the autumn of this year? We're seeing a great harvest and everything. So how do you see us continuing to expand that period of growth and production into maybe the boundaries of where our growing period is now, extending the growing period and going into the future and supplying more fresh food year-round?
Well, as we toured earlier, we went around and saw some of our season extension techniques. Those are our hoop houses, our greenhouse. Right now, we have someone who's running around the farm right now using Remay or Agribon, which is a row cover, which you get about 3 to 7 degrees on. Those are all season enhancing techniques. The other thing we need to do as a cultural shift is we need to help people understand that in this time of bounty and abundance, that's the time that they start hoarding food. And what we're doing today is we're getting the last of our tomatoes in, the last of our peppers, our cabbage, and the thought of going into winter without 100 pounds of onions set aside for myself is way more scary than the thought of having 100 pounds of onions. And so we need to help people understand that a hank of onions hanging in their food pantry is a good idea. It's not a scary thing, and that it's not going to rot, it's not going to stink, it's it's part of food security. And so I think the season extensions on the land themselves, but then also helping people to understand that they can accept responsibility for their diet in the winter by learning some food preservation techniques.
Great. Thank you very much, Pam. I appreciate it.